All right, Shalom. Shalom, giving all praises, glory, and honors unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Kakodash. Double honors to the apostles. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the 144,000 rest of the hopeful elect out there. This is your brother, the priest, Desire One from GMS Atlanta, back with another edifying video. This will be a real quick video. More protests are taking place. I did a few videos last week on this topic. As I got the news, as things kept happening, we filtered everything through the prophecies and the scriptures. And so what we have here, this is from ABC. It says clashes as tens of thousands join pro-Palestinian demos in Italy. So now you have these protests taking place in Italy. You had the France riots recently. You had, of course, Nepal. So a lot of different places around the world are seeing these protests rise up. And it's all a part of Bible prophecy and scripture. Okay? Let me do something real quick. I want to get a precept. But I want to see, let me see, protest. Now, when I did the last video, I spoke about the civil unrest. Let me choose a better word. Let me see, protest. Well, that's pretty much what this is, unrest. That has been taking place. And the Bible speaks on that. So let me read this here. This is I just put this into the Google. So it says Bible verses related to protest and unrest, like Luke 21:9, acknowledge the existence of such events. Right? And I always go into Luke 21:9 to show you that even Yahweh Shai himself spoke about a time in the world that was going to take place where these events, these protests, this civil unrest, these riots were going to take place in the last days before his return. Okay? As a matter of fact, let me get that. Let's go to Luke 21. Luke 21 and verse 9. So it says here, but when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. And when you look up this word in the Greek for commotions, and all of you that claim to study the Bible, the Israelites, you should go into the Bible dictionaries, the Greek and the Hebrew, to get a better understanding of what the word of the Lord is saying. Ever since the Israelites been out there teaching, even these Christians are getting more into studying and looking up the Hebrew and the Greek words. They do it to try to come against us, but what they find out is that we got the truth. Because their lack of understanding comes from ignorance. They don't really study the Bible. They just teach the dogma of Christianity, and that's not the truth. That's not the true gospel. We here at GMS Great Millstone, even the other Israelites, we got the true truth. Okay? But there's levels. We got the 100% truth here at GMS. But the other Israelite groups, they do speak the truth for the most part. But these Christians, they're learning how to study the Bible from watching us So let's go into this word commotions. G181. So when you look up G181,
Strong's G181, akatastasia. Akatastasia.
okay, akatastasia. And let's see what it means. So it says instability, a state of disorder, disturbance, confusion. Right? Strong's definitions: instability, disorder, commotion, confusion, turmoil. And that's what these protests are. Okay? They're disturbances, and they ultimately, when you see them on a countrywide level, like what happened with Nepal, and they had to, even in France, where they had to put new leaders in the office, that was a disturbance, and that caused a state of disorder, confusion, commotion, and it was a protest. Okay? So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing these protests around the world in different countries. Some for the same reasons, some for different reasons, economics and tax reasons. Some is, they're protesting this war, these conflicts, but that's what the scriptures say. So here, back in the article, it says tens of thousands of people protested on Monday across Italy as part of a day of action to denounce the G-side in Gaza. All right, I got speaking code for YouTube. With blockades, strikes, and marches that descended into clashes with police in Milan. 2 Ezra 15 should come to mind. The Apocrypha also speaks on these events. Okay? Where it says that they shall not regard their kings nor princes. 2 Ezra 15 and 16. We're coming to a time where there's going to be like it says here, a clash between the powers that be and their law enforcement, martial law being declared, and the people going to stand in their power to come against them. And these are signs that this is happening. Okay, all these prophecies are taking place. All right? It says the demonstrations came on the same day as France and other countries prepared to recognize a Palestinian state, and they did that. They've been, over the last couple of days, I've seen it where a Palestinian state has been recognized by Canada and other countries around the world. It says at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, following recognition by the UK, Australia, and Canada on Sunday, right? Italy's hard right government under Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has said it will not recognize a Palestinian state for now. So they still got them small hats at their back. But these other countries, they're saying, look, man, we're recognizing, those people over there. Okay? And the thing that has been going on between Israel and Gaza and Iran is escalating. And this is another reason why the Battle of Armageddon or World War III shall take place. Okay, I'm just trying to scroll through here. I'm guessing this is the end. Okay, no, there's more. It says in Rome, some 20,000 people people gathered in front of the main Termini train station, according to local police. Many of them students, and that's who you usually see rioting throughout these different times of protests over the last 100 years or so, especially here in America. It's the young people. Okay? So it says many of them students shouting "Free Palestine" and holding up Palestinian flags. Some had marched via the Colosseum, those at the front holding up a giant banner saying "Against G side, let's block everything." And that was another protest, a block everything protest. I believe certain people got unalived and got arrested. I forget which country it was. So, behind the scenes, these protests are being set up. But it's still prophecy. It's still what the scriptures say is to happen. You can read more here. Tear gas, water cannons. In the northern city of Milan, where organizers said 50,000 people, and we're talking about tens of thousands of people, are I believe in one protest was 500,000, 500,000 in one country. These people are upset. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the commotions, like Yahushua prophesied about. So it says 50,000 people turned out. Protesters burned, right? You see here, they burned a flag. An AFP reporter saw. And we know what Trump said about burning the American flag, so, well, that's what it says here, U.S. But it's people are seeing who the enemy countries are, and they're looking at Babylon the Great, which is here, which is America, and what they call the big Satan, and then what they call the little Satan is those small hats over there in Jerusalem. Because what does the scripture say about Jerusalem? You can also read that in Luke the 21st chapter. Let me go back. It says that Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. Luke chapter 21 and 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. Who in history from over the last 2,000 years, who went into captivity in all nations? So-called African Americans, the blacks, right, Native Americans, and Hispanics. We went into especially the so-called the blacks from West Africa. This scripture right here alone proves that we're the Israelites, because the Israelites fled out of Jerusalem during the 70 A.D., that time period, fled into West Africa, fled into Europe, Asia, and in the time of the Atlantic slave trade, or what they call the triangular slave trade, the Israelites from West Africa were put on cargo slave ships and were brought into captivity here in the Western world, in the Americas. So it says, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. We're still in the time of the Gentiles. All right, but we're waiting for it to be fully fulfilled, which will come when Yahushua returns. That's why it says the next part is the returning of Messiah. So who's in Jerusalem right now, trotting down that land? The Gentiles. Okay? Whether it be the so-called Palestinians or including the pale people wearing the small hats over there. They're also Gentiles, because they're in that land. It said that Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. The Israelites are not going to go back to Jerusalem until the returning of Messiah, and the Messiah ain't came back yet. So that's how you really understand what's going on today, is you got to understand prophecy. This is why we speak on these Christians about them not really understanding what's going on when it comes to the Bible. Okay? I'm going to read some more of this. It says, some demonstrators clashed with anti-riot police at Milan Central train station, with police throwing tear gas and protesters launching projectiles and smashing windows, and AFP photographers saw. So they're a photographer and reporters. They saw it, but did they report on it? I'm just going off of what they wrote here. In Bologna, right, more than 10,000 took to the streets, according to local police, with a group of demonstrators blocking the motorway before being dispersed by water cannons. And this is happening all over Italy. Okay?
90.
And they're doing this because of what is happening in the land of Palestine right now. So Jerusalem is being trodden down of the Gentiles, and all these protests are taking place. Okay? Tear gas, water cannons. So that was mainly the point. More protests, more unrest, taking place. Luke 21 and 9 is coming to pass. These commotions, wars, right? And the commotions are happening because of the war in Gaza. You know, the protests are happening because of the wars. So this just proves that the Bible is real, is living. The word of the Holy Scriptures, the Holy Bible is coming to pass. The prophecies, everything is lining up. So, you know, we're in the last days now, man. You know, we're just waiting for certain major prophecies to come to pass. Once the digital ID system is in place and they have the right reason to introduce the MOTB, which is a physical biometric implant, then things are going to move quick. Prophecies are going to be fulfilled quick. Jacob's trouble, Esau's trouble, society is going to further break down. Then ultimately the destruction via the nuclear missiles will take place. The climax of the Battle of Armageddon. The return of the Messiah will come, which are the so-called UFOs, which are the angels, the vehicles of our salvation. And the deliverance of the elect will take place out of Babylon and around the world as well, but mainly here in Babylon the Great, which is America. And then the kingdom of heaven was soon after be established on earth. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying. Shalom.